They never screamed until it was too late. By the time the blood reached their shoes, the mistake had already been made. Subscribe to Think What If for more stories that push your imagination to the edge. You think you'd be smarter. You think you'd lock the door, grab a weapon, run. But fear makes people slow. Panic makes them stupid. The end doesn't come from the monsters outside. It comes from the decisions you make inside your own head. When the first infected stumbled through the hospital doors, nobody noticed the pattern. A cough, a tremor, then silence. The virus didn't announce itself. It whispered. By the time the nurses realized they were breathing the same air, the lights had already flickered out. What if this wasn't fiction? What if something like it already exists? Somewhere in a lab, deep beneath the frozen soil of Siberia, scientists revived a virus that had been asleep for 48,500 years. They called it zombie virus for a reason. It reanimated single-celled organisms after tens of millennia trapped in ice. Think about that. Life after death. Not just surviving, but waiting. If something ancient and dormant can wake up there, what else could wake up here? You see the mistake people make first. Curiosity. They touch what they should never touch. They open what should stay sealed. A vial cracks, a mask slips, a droplet falls. That's all it takes. One cell, one moment, one breath. The dumbest mistake is always the smallest. In Brazil, a fungus called Ophiocordyceps turns ants into puppets. It crawls through the brain, hijacks the muscles, and makes the insect climb to a perfect height before killing it. The fungus grows out of the skull, releasing more spores into the air. You breathe in something like that, and you're not you anymore. Scientists study it because they want to understand control. But what happens when control turns against its creator? You can almost smell the damp earth of the rainforest, the rot of fallen leaves. Each breath carries a question. Could evolution turn this trick on us? Could a parasite learn to play us the way it plays the ant? People think the apocalypse begins with chaos. It actually begins with order breaking down. The dumbest mistake people make before the worst zombie deaths is believing someone else will fix it. They wait for an announcement, a rescue, a cure. But the line between safety and extinction is only a few hours long. When the sirens stop, you hear the truth. The world has gone quiet. You check your phone. No signal. You check your pulse. Still human, for now. Outside, something moves in the dark, slower than a person but heavier. You think of the lab stories you read, the ones about brain-eating amoebas in warm lakes, Naegleria fowleri. It slips through your nose, into your brain, and feasts until you stop being you. No bite, no virus, just a microscopic predator that loves heat and water, the perfect killer for a summer world. Someone always makes the second dumb mistake. They try to save someone already lost. They lean in. They whisper a name. They don't notice the eyes have changed. The pupils dilated. The breath stopped. The body moves anyway. That's when everything collapses. You'd think humanity learns, but we never do. In 2019, researchers in a Level 4 biohazard facility tested a virus that modifies behavior in mammals. They wanted to study aggression. The results were classified. Why? Because it worked too well. Animals that were once calm began attacking everything that moved. The experiment ended. The cages didn't hold. You wonder if that's where it starts. Not in a movie, but in a sterile white lab where someone whispers, "We lost containment." The third dumb mistake is denial. You tell yourself it can't happen. You walk outside because you need fresh air. You think you can reason with a world that's already gone. You can't. The smell of smoke hits first. Then the sirens fade. Then nothing. Silence stretches long enough that you start hearing your own heartbeat. The phrase repeats in your mind. One mistake. One breath. One drop. You feel it echo, rhythmic and cold, like a countdown you can't stop. But there's always a choice before the end. When the infection moves fast, the survivors slow down. They start thinking. They start adapting. The smart ones don't wait for heroes. They become the experiment. They test water. They isolate. They learn the rules. Did you know rabies can lie hidden for months before showing symptoms? Once they start, it's too late. The virus attacks the brain, rewires fear into rage, and forces the host to spread it. Real zombies exist in nature. We just don't call them that. Imagine that virus engineered to spread faster, jump between species, survive longer. That's not fantasy. That's synthetic biology, and it's already here. The question is, who's using it? Somewhere, a hand holds a test tube filled with potential extinction. It's labeled harmless. It never is. The mistake they make isn't playing God. It's believing God will forgive them for it. The infection doesn't care about morality. It only wants to multiply. In one simulation, researchers found that a pathogen spreading through human air travel could reach every continent in 36 hours. You board a plane. You cough once. The chain begins. That's how the first dumb mistake becomes the last one. You think you'd notice the signs: fever, confusion, tremor. But the brain is a master liar. You convince yourself it's just exhaustion. You drink water. You lie down. By morning, you don't wake. The body moves, but you're gone. Some survivors try to build walls. They forget air moves. Some burn the infected. They forget ash drifts. Every defense has a flaw. Every plan a crack. The dumbest mistake before the worst zombie deaths is believing there's such a thing as safe. You hear a noise outside the barricade, a shuffle, a scrape. The wind carries something metallic, a smell like rust and meat. You hold your breath. You remember the stories of parasites that make rats love the smell of cats. Toxoplasma gondii. It changes fear into attraction. What if that happened to humans? What if you stopped fearing the infected and started walking toward them? Your flashlight flickers. The air thickens. You realize the horror isn't dying. It's changing. It's losing the voice in your own head. That's how it always happens. Someone laughs too loud. Someone trusts too soon. Someone thinks the infection is over. But pathogens don't care about human timelines. They hide in lungs, in rivers, and frozen soil. Waiting, always waiting. You feel it again, that pulse of thought. One mistake, one breath, one drop. It repeats like a warning carved into your bones. The scientists who tried to stop it never saw it coming. In a remote Arctic facility, a thawed virus jumped from amoebas to lab mice. It wasn't supposed to. They thought containment was absolute. Then the snow melted faster than expected. Power failed. Doors froze open. The footage ends mid-frame. The screen goes black. You stare at your reflection in the glass, wondering if the world ended days ago and no one told you. What would you do now? How far would you go to survive? People imagine zombies as rotting monsters, but the truth is quieter. A cough in a crowded train, a fever at an airport gate, a scientist staring at a computer screen, realizing the numbers don't make sense. The apocalypse doesn't roar, it hums. The dumbest mistake before the worst zombie deaths isn't screaming, it's silent. I'm thinking there's still time. It's believing the world owes you one more sunrise. But survival isn't luck, it's awareness. The ones who live are the ones who notice first. The ones who think before they move. The ones who listen when the air changes. Because when the world goes quiet again and the pulse of humanity fades, something else begins to listen. Something old, something patient. You feel the weight of that truth settle behind your ribs. You wonder if the next mistake will be yours. The line between now and never has already begun to blur. The world won't end with a roar. It will end with one small sound, a breath, a cough, a drop. Subscribe to Think What If for more worlds you should never forget.